Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to episode 7 of my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. This is my last podcast for 2017, so I thought it would be a good idea to talk about a good perspective for the new year, and that is to stay hopeful. Now, I know many people have different opinions about the idea of hope. For instance, in the Taoist philosophy, things are neither good or bad, and everything changes, so hope has no role. In the Buddhist religion, many believe that hope is an attachment that leads to suffering. It creates a projection of our fears that leads us out of the moment and attaches us to an outcome in the future that may or may not happen. I've also heard people say hope blinds us to reality and creates inaction and complacency to face the world's problems because we hope tomorrow will be better. But I totally disagree. I believe that most of us would find it impossible to get out of bed in the morning without hope. Every business, every investment, every first date, and every other situation we embark on has hope packed into it. It is not hope that causes us emotional pain. Instead, it's our inability to be flexible and fluid in the face of change and uncertainty. So it's our addiction to certainty and not our addiction to hope that paralyzes us to make the changes in our own lives and in the world. This is why I spend so much time talking about the maybe mindset. The maybe mindset is akin to having hope without attachment. It allows us to look at every situation in our lives, no matter what we are facing, and recognize that things change. And instead of seeing that change is bad, we realize that uncertainty offers so many possibilities, many we can't even imagine today. So whatever we are facing, maybe whatever is happening is good. Maybe it will get better. Maybe we could accept what is happening and still be okay. Or maybe there is something in this moment to still experience if you're experiencing a difficult time. So with a maybe mindset, you could stay hopeful and at the same time recognize life might not go as planned, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you won't achieve your goals or the world can't get better. It's just a different path with different possibilities. And one last caveat for making 2018 the year of hope. Don't look for the outside world to give you something to start holding hope in your life. We cannot control the outside world, and we lose our inspiration and motivation to make the world a better place if we rely on only results. The hope we are looking for must be generated from within. We must cultivate it in a way that we bring to every situation so we access all possibilities. And I always say if there are more possibilities, there's more of a likelihood that we will find the life that we are looking for. Ultimately, uncertainty is the refuge of hope. Over the years, I've met with several notable humanitarians and discussed the idea of hope. Sasha Chanoff from Refuge Point, who works with international refugees, Katie Ford, who works to eradicate human trafficking with her organization Freedom for All, Maggie Doyne from blinknow.org, who works with orphan children from Nepal, and Rachel Lloyd from GEMS, who works to stop sex trafficking. Each of these humanitarians have one thing in common. They all have hope in the face of what sometimes seems impossible. Does this hope ever lead them to fail? Of course. They tell me there are times their hopes do not come to fruition, times of frustration and even suffering. Overwhelmingly, though, they all tell me that hope has led them to have a huge positive impact on individuals and communities that have been abandoned by society. One of my favorite hope stories is about a young man named Kennedy O'Dady, who created an organization called Shining Hope for Communities. I had the pleasure of meeting him at a charity event a few years ago. Kennedy grew up in Kibera, Kenya, Africa's largest slum. He lived on the streets since the age of 10. He saw his family and community devastated by poverty from which there seemed to be no escape. Kennedy taught himself to read, and one day in his teens received books about Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King Jr. from a visiting American. After reading the books, he decided he wanted to fight for social justice. Kennedy found Shining Hope with the simple act of purchasing a soccer ball to start an informal soccer league. His goal? To bring his community together. The 20-cent price tag for the ball was daunting, but motivated by hope, Kennedy has ultimately managed to find worldwide support for his organization and opened the Kibera School for Girls. He has provided Kibera with health care, clean water and toilets, as well as a computer lab and a well-stocked library, a community garden, adult education, and legal services. What would propel this young man with hardly enough food to eat, no home, and no money to think he could accomplish so much? Kennedy believes that the reason he was able to do what he did in a life filled with hopelessness was that he created hope from within and clung to it. Now Kennedy, along with his wife Jessica Posner and his supporters, are making another world possible. Kennedy says his dream is to expand shining hope across East Africa. Maybe in a philosophical debate, one could tell us to abandon hope, but when you go out into where people are really suffering, you will find their suffering is not a result of their hope, but of the very real forces stacked against them. It often takes more courage to have hope than not, because you're being asked to look into the unknown and still believe that all things are possible. And sometimes it's only hope that feeds our spirits and launches us to find strength and the power to carry on. So as we move into this new year, let's remember what Martin Luther King Jr. said: everything that is done in the world is done by hope. So I'd like to leave you with an exercise for the new year for you to embrace all that's possible. I'm going to return to a variation of the maybe exercise because I believe that the maybe mindset is what allows you to have hope without attachment. It will support you to feel inspired and motivated to keep expanding your life regardless of what is happening, and to never give up hope that the world can be a better place. With maybe, you will not get rigid that things have to be one way, because that's when things start to fall apart. The truth is, we don't always know what's best, and if we stay open and we embrace the idea of maybe, we'll be able to stay hopeful and always find the resilience to carry on in the new year. So instead of asking you to write down your biggest wishes for the new year, I ask you to write down your biggest fears, because you don't want to go into the new year being afraid. You want to go into the new year being hopeful. So what are you afraid of for this new year? Are you afraid the democracy in the United States is being threatened? Are you afraid you won't get a raise? Are you afraid you can't afford your life? Are you afraid your child will never hold down a job? Whatever you're afraid of, write it down and then ask yourself, am I absolutely certain this fear is true? Most of the time the answer is no. No, you are not certain your biggest fear will ever happen or will never change or get better. And that's what's so beautiful about the idea of maybe and the idea of hope. It gives you the chance for a new beginning or just a new way to experience the moment. So now start writing your maybe statements down. Maybe things in the new year will be good. Maybe it will get better. Maybe you can accept whatever you're afraid of and still be okay. And I always say, if you're going through a very difficult time, maybe there's something left for you to experience in this moment, and maybe there's something left for you to experience in the year 2018. When you feel ready, start writing specific maybe statements down, like maybe I need to go out and start campaigning for issues I care about. Maybe I need to run for office. Maybe I need to get a new job. Maybe I need to go back to school. Maybe my child just needs my love and support and they could still find their way in life. You might not even know the maybe statement that will be the possibility you will eventually follow. But if you write these statements down for 20 minutes, you're going to feel better. And you're going to start to calm down a bit, become more present, and most of all, you're going to feel hopeful. The reason for this is you're going to recognize, because you don't know the future for sure, there's still hope that things will change, and maybe for the better, or not as bad as you're projecting. Do bad things happen in life? Yes, but we also have to remember that good things happen too. And sitting around feeling hopeless doesn't help anyone. But some hope leads to a more open mind, and an open mind has access to more possibilities. And the more possibilities you have, the more likely you will find a resolution to your problem or a new way to live with whatever you're dealing with. And you know from my prior podcasts, I'm not saying you should live in illusion or not accept things for what they are, but the future is uncertain, which makes the playing field wide open for so many possibilities, and some that you might even enjoy. So let's start the new year with a maybe mindset and commit to being more open and flexible in the year to come. And if you want to write some great things down that you want to happen, that's beautiful too. But most important, work on letting go of your fears and open up to all that's possible. If you like this podcast, please leave a review on iTunes. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you want to buy my book, The Gift of Maybe, it's available at all major bookstores and online retailers. I hope you all enjoyed this podcast today, and I wish all of you a happy and a healthy new year. May the world be more joyful and more peaceful, and may we all be more hopeful in 2018, because hope is really the beginning of all things that are possible to making the world a better place for everyone.